Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the South Jersey Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Jackie Karang. Today's episode 2, and we're welcoming a very special guest. But before I do that, I'm going to introduce our very special co-host and CEO of South Jersey Entrepreneurs, John Lorenzo. John, how was your week?
Oh, typical week of an entrepreneur. Absolutely insane, putting out fires, but also getting shit done. It's been a good week. It's been a really good week.
Great. Now it's the summer months. It's getting super busy. I think everybody is just on a roll with their business and just, keeping themselves from going insane with all the busyness going on. So fantastic. So I'm going to go right ahead and jump into it. I'm very excited to announce our very first guest on this podcast, Chuck Krepelka. Chuck, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you?
My pleasure. I'm good.
Awesome. It's a beautiful sunny day here in South Jersey. So, Chuck, besides your business and the wonderful things you've been doing, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I live in Collingswood, New Jersey. I also moonlight as a DJ. I have a huge passion for music, and since a kid, I prefer to listen to music instead of watching TV. So pretty much every day of my life, I had headphones on or would carry a cassette tape in my pocket to have music for whenever I got in someone's car or went to a house party. So I kind of expanded my love of music and also into the DJ field. Another hobby that I also enjoy is working out. I mean, it's definitely good to keep your body in shape and healthy, and it's great. It's very therapeutic and great for the stress. So anybody who I recommend in business, always find another outlet to keep yourself sane.
Can relate. How many times do you just want to go pound some weights after you've had a really crappy day?
That was my Friday night, and I got to the gym too late and it closed. And I was like, oh man, now what am I supposed to do?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Do some push-ups in the house.
Yeah,
true.
Right? Seriously.
True. Definitely. Well, that's great. That's great to learn a little about yourself a little bit more. I love music, and I'm gonna hit you up with some playlists and stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely check out his SoundCloud. What's your SoundCloud name there?
DJ Razor1, RAZORONE.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. I'm one of those people who no matter how late I am going somewhere, I'm I have to pick the perfect song before I leave the driveway.
Absolutely.
I'm I need a good playlist or this drive's gonna be awful.
The best is when you're you're in the car and you're jamming out and you don't get out of your car. You want to stay in the car and finish the song or even start it over again.
Yeah.
Yep. I've done that multiple times.
That satisfaction when the song ends right when you pull into your destination, you're yes, perfect.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, that's great to know a little bit more about you, Chuck. So tell us a little bit more about your business and how you got started.
All right. So first and foremost, I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia. I was also attended art school in high school, the Philadelphia High School for Creative and Performing Arts. So I had an art background. I always loved that. That that was another hobby of mine is art. And growing up in the city and being in the hip hop culture, I was also involved with graffiti art. So it's always been a passion of mine. So that was a little bit of a hobby as well, which is where my DJ name came from. And when my mom and dad decided to move to New Jersey, I wasn't really a biggest fan, but that was my year. I was graduating, and it was, I guess, about time for us to change scenery. And we ended up in Collingswood, New Jersey. And again, growing up as a Philly kid and being able to walk anywhere and have all my friends in a small radius, and even have SEPTA. I didn't have a car. Moving to Jersey was a huge culture shock, and I wasn't really a fan of it at all. But as I, was there, I started, learning, differences of this, I guess, suburban life, I would call it. And I was still going to college in Philadelphia, taking the train every day to PACO and all that. And my neighbor was also a service manager of a car dealership, and just said, look, I'll get you a job. So I needed something else to have some income. So he got me a job at Classic Jaguar, and I was just pretty much a car washer, making $5.05 an hour. Just every car that came in for service got washed. So at the time it was Jaguar, Saab, and Buick. So there was a ton of cars just for oil changes I had to wash. So me and another guy would mark on a board, a dry erase board, how many cars we washed. It would be 50, 60 cars a day.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
So my feet would be soaked every day. I was exhausted. It was a lot. But at the same time, I enjoyed it. It kept me busy. The day went fast. And as I was there, we would have downtime, and then we would there would be time where there wasn't any cars to wash, so I would be bored. I would walk to the other side of the shop and talk to the detailers, and then they would rather walk around talking and do whatever they wanted to do, BS, and they would say, here's a buffer, go buff, or go do this. And I started learning how to detail, And then again, like just me personally, I take pride in everything I do. I'm kind of perfectionist, so I would just start detailing and learn how to detail. And then the service manager started giving me like his specific good customer cars to detail, and he was always very happy with the outcome. And I just started getting into that. I didn't even have the knowledge of like mechanical with cars. I didn't know that much. I loved cars. I just didn't know the ins and outs of a car. So I started just talking to the mechanics, asking them questions, and they would teach me, this is why you do this. Like so many different things about a car in general. And I even remember like in a situation where I was probably like venting. I was upset. Like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to be doing this. Like, this is BS. And he'd be like, no. He's like, look. He's like, everybody had to start somewhere. You think I started doing this? Like, I started out the bottom.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was like, I guess you're right. Like, whatever. But when 18-year-old kid, you don't see that. You think in your mind, you think you want to be at the top.
Yep.
And it doesn't happen like that way. So that being said, I pretty much learned every aspect of the dealership business. I would help the cashier at night. I would drive cars to the shore at night because we would deliver cars for customers that needed them service and come back. That was like a separate paycheck, pretty much like a side job within the dealership, driving cars, which was fun because I was a kid driving Jaguars with the top down.
That's probably, I'd be on like Instagram all day, like, look at my new whip. Like,
Unfortunately, there was no Instagram.
Well, nowadays.
This is probably 1995. Yeah, I don't. There was definitely no Instagram, and I was probably still had a CD in my pocket or a cassette just to have my tunes when I got into the car. There wasn't even a cell phone. If I was like doing a run, like a driver's run, going to like a customer's house, I would have to, like, my boss would page me. I had to pull over to a payphone and call him, like, because he would say, hey, while you're here, stop here. Like, there would be multiple, possibly, like, change the route of where we're going if I was picking up a customer's car in Philly or whatever the case. And he would page us, and then it would say, like, I forget, there was a code he used, like 3 numbers or something that meant, like, call right now.
SOS.
Really?
Yeah, it was some kind of code. I can't remember.
You think about that now, and
that's wild.
It feels so... Like,
I wouldn't even know what to do at that point.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't imagine not being able to pick up the phone and call someone, because I could imagine how difficult that must have been for like communication between your boss and you, and especially if you're driving all the way to the shore.
I remember. Well, I did Philly runs too, and like, cause during the day we would do other runs, not the shore runs. But I remember me and a guy were like driving. We got a page from the boss. We pull over, and we weren't in the best neighborhood. I kind of feel like we didn't go the direct route. Like, we were coming from maybe Conshohocken or Ballacane, but we got, instead of staying on 76, we cut through and we were like in the neighborhoods just trying to like show off. But we pulled over to use the payphone, and we were like not in the best neighborhood. So then like everybody's staring at us, and we're just like, all right, I think it's time to go.
Yeah.
So we ended up
Make it quick.
shooting back over. I remember one time we left the Philly Auto Show with a convertible. A friend of mine, it was a really good friend of mine actually, and it was cold. It was winter. It was February, whatever the auto show ends, and he had the top down. And it was probably 20 degrees out, but he's like, whatever, who cares? He had the heat on.
Yeah.
You think you're cool.
You're good.
The cop pulled him over. Like, what, are you drunk? Are you drinking? He's like, yeah, I had a
The
strawberry
only
smoothie.
person in Philly with a top down. Yeah. I don't blame you. I would want to show that car off too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess fast forward, like, staying at the dealership a few years, I kind of didn't see anything evolving from there, and I was kind of sick of the art thing. Like, I went to high school for art for 4 years, and I was in college for art. And I didn't really know if that's the career path I wanted, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I loved cars. I knew I was good with what I did as far as detailing and in the paint side of it. So I saw an ad for a company hiring to do like the mobile paint. It was a franchise, so I remember going to the interview, and they asked me, they wanted someone with dealership experience, which I had. And they asked me if I ever had experience of painting, and I said, well, I used to do graffiti, right? Like, I scoop with spray paint. Like, oh, perfect. You're perfect. So I was like, hey, is that easy? Just I have dealership
like,
and I can spray paint?
Yeah.
So I got the job for the franchise, and what they specialized in was going to car dealerships in a van and fixing small repairs on site. Back then, it was a lot of like touching up like stone chips on the hoods and fixing scratches. The franchise had a patent that like airbrush in like the paint into like a chip and a scratch. And it was like that was our niche, and then dealerships needed that service because they didn't want to send the car to get painted at a shop and have it sit all week and spend $1,000 when we could do it for under $100.
Wow.
And we had the car done within like an hour, each car. So when I got the job there, after I learned, I evolved pretty fast. Part of it was just, I guess, my background, and the other part was just that I cared, and I took pride in what I did. And over time, like, all the managers of the dealerships requested me over some of the veterans that had been there, just because, again, like I feel like they saw that I cared, and like when I was done a car, you can tell like it looked great, and that might not have been the same case with other technicians, because some other people just don't think of it that way. They just think they're doing their job, and
Just try to get it done and check
the
it off
best
the
it's
list.
that's the best it's going to be, but I guess I would take a little bit extra. As far as working for the franchise, it wasn't really going too well for a while. The owner of the business was an older guy. He was cool with me, but he didn't really take the business serious, possibly because he had other things going on as well, and he wasn't really investing back into the business, and he wasn't training people properly. So we couldn't keep staff, and when we did get staff, they weren't qualified and they weren't trained properly. So he was sending people on the road that didn't have the knowledge, the experience, or even the work ethic. It became kind of like a shit show.
Yeah.
It got to the point where it was a race to the bank on Friday because the checks were bouncing. So you would see like burnouts in the parking lot because everybody was trying to get there first come, first serve.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So
wow.
That was it was a little bit challenging, and no one wanted to stay there. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Who wants to work for free? And it got to the point where every dealership account in the area, predominantly South Jersey, we were like the laughing stock, and they didn't want us. Oh yeah, we don't deal with you guys no more. Like, 'cause they burnt so many bridges because they weren't showing up or they weren't doing quality, or the owner himself would be at the dealership trying to collect a check from the company right away when it's usually a term, like 30-day term. So they were getting frustrated, like they were like just kicking them out, like get out of here, like we don't want to deal with that anymore. So it was embarrassing in a sense. Like I would walk into some of the places and I would just be like embarrassed.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And like he was very sloppy looking, and he wasn't like very professional. And I can't badmouth him because I am where I am because of that situation. But at the same time, me being like a very clean cut and take pride in my appearance and my fashion as well, walking in with him, he looks like a slob. it was a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
So there was a day in cold January, I think it was, and me and another buddy of mine who I got the job were the only ones left, I think, and we were in the shop doing something, maybe getting our supplies for the day, and he just said, "Look, I'm going to close the business. You know, we can't sustain it anymore." And I was like, "Well, I want to work out a deal to buy it then." And that's when I was 23. Yeah, I was 23. I didn't have a pot to piss in. I lived with my mom and dad. No savings. I was living, you know, as a 23-year-old kid. My paychecks went to my car or going out drinking.
Right.
So we contacted the franchisor, which was Minneapolis. His name was Jim Spellmeyer, and we worked out a deal to finance the territory of the franchise, Aero Colors, which at the time was. So to have the rights to work in all of South Jersey, it was 7 counties. It was $72,000 just to have that right to just use the name. And at that time, they were huge. They were everywhere. It was the biggest of the type in the United States. So we worked that out. I financed that through about 5 years. The 2 vans, I just paid the lease payments still because they were leased. And just me and my other buddy, Ryan, who I thank very much for his hard work at the time and helping me get to where I am today. We just started over pretty much and started knocking on doors and telling all the people, like, it's new now. Like, we're not the same company. We're the same, you know, we're going to be your guys. That's it. And we kind of just grew it from there and started, like, the whole Turnersville Auto Complex. We were there doing a lot of their work still, and then, you know, worked our way, like, some of the mom and pop used car lots. Like, that's all we could get at the time, which it is what it is. You have to do what you have to do to pay the bills. Over time, like, word of mouth, you know, people started hearing that we were this and we were doing better, and it wasn't the same. And then we started getting calls from the bigger dealerships and kind of grew it from there.
That's awesome.
That's
it's reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's reputation management. It's yours. Your reputation got you all those accounts back. You know, they trusted that you were the one in charge now.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
And so from there, that was 2001, and then over the years, I had plenty of ups and downs and plenty of employee turnover, and I hired a bunch of friends. It probably wasn't the best idea because it's hard to keep that dynamic between friendship and business. And some people respect it, some people don't. Some people take advantage. Some people don't understand that, like, it's when you're at work, and this is not party, this is not fun time.
Yeah, that's tough with friends though, because you trust your friends, and when you're starting a business, it's tough, and you can you reach out to your friends, hey, can you help me out? you know, sometimes, like you said, you're 23, you're living with your parents, all your money went to your business and your cars and stuff, and, you know, maybe an occasional weekend out of the bar. I mean, who cannot turn that down? You know, I can't turn that
Gotta
down.
have fun.
But you gotta have fun while you're doing it. But, you know, it's sometimes that can be hard hiring your friends. And, you know, I think that's a lot of, I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but it's a decision that a lot of young business owners make, because, you know, they're the people that they instantly can trust.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a trust thing. You know, when you have limited resources, and it's tough to hire people, so you hire the people that you trust the most first.
And they're more likely to help you out. But like
Yeah.
you said, you're working with your friends. You know, sometimes it was like, guys, like, come on, we got to get our crap together.
This isn't playtime. This is like, hey, we're trying to build a business here.
Right, exactly.
That's awesome.
Some people maybe they don't, at the end of the day, there starts to become resentment too. And then some people wish that they were in your shoes, even though they don't understand what it took to get in your shoes, or even what you're going through at the present moment. And then that becomes a problem.
Yeah,
exactly.
Some people have a different outlook, or a different, they think they should deserve more than what they really have.
Yeah. So
Right.
fast forward, Chuck, how's the business now, and where are you at now?
So fast forward, a lot of things have happened in between then, I can say, but we are now operating 10 vans. We service all of South Jersey. We do some central North Jersey, some like down the shore areas. We do a lot of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I have a meeting today at a Delaware dealership. So we have a pretty huge range that we handle. I mean, if the work is there and the money is there, my technicians have no problem traveling there. I have another pretty big account that's local. We have multiple trucks there per day handling all their needs. And since then, we also expanded into an auto body shop in the Pennsauken area. So we're able to handle all the bigger things that back then I had to turn down or send to somebody else. So now we're doing them ourselves as well.
It's awesome. But that's really awesome to hear too. Like, that's such an inspiring story. Like, you know, you're 18 years old, just having a job, try to pay your bills, and, you know, you're in college, and now it's like you've built this empire, and now you actually have to outsource work.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, I feel like where a lot of business owners strive to get to too. And I think you got there pretty quick. But before we dive a little bit deeper into your journey, we just want to take a short break with a commercial with a quick word from our sponsor.
So this episode is sponsored by Pride Paint and Body Works.
Pride Paint and Body Works is 4650 North Crescent Boulevard in Pennsauken, which is pretty much on Route 130, a few minutes away from the Ben Franklin Bridge and a few minutes away from the Betsy Ross Bridge. So centrally located, easy access from Philadelphia or anybody in the South Jersey area. We specialize in all different cosmetic repairs, mainly auto body. So there's not really a job that's too big or too small. We can handle quick bumper repair, have you in and out in the same day, or your collision repairs. We can do insurance work or out of pocket. We have a state-of-the-art facility, and we are definitely not your average auto shop. Come by and check us out when you have a moment. Pride Paint and Body Works.
Welcome back, guys. Chuck, thanks for giving us a little bit more insight on your business and your journey. Like I said, it was so inspiring. And there's one thing that I do want to touch on that really kind of stuck out to me, is that you were 18 years old working at this dealership. And not a lot of 18-year-olds would take their free time and go learn the extra things and the different nuts and bolts of the business. But you did that. How would you describe your mental thought process, and like what made you do that? Is it just you wanted to learn more, or is it like you got just, I'm bored, I want to do something else type of thing?
I think it comes down to like what you're into and if you have a passion for it. Because if you're not into what you're doing, then you're not going to have the willingness to learn because you don't care.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I love cars. I've always been into cars. Every car I've owned, did modifications made of my own. It's almost like my palette. Another way to express myself, like artistically, is a car.
Right.
So yeah, I wanted to learn about everything I could, just to have the knowledge, and so going forward, I would know like exactly what I would need to do with my own cars, or how to diagnose problems, or whatever the case. Just to know the ins and outs of an automobile was just something that I had a passion for. And if someone else is in business and they're just doing it just for a paycheck and don't have the passion, then it's not going to be as easy to learn and to grow.
Yeah.
Definitely. I can agree with that. I mean, I'm sure you can too, John. I mean,
Oh yeah.
and taking that extra time, I think, really set the foundation for you to land that job that, you know, changed your life and really kind of set the path towards your success now. But, you know, every story has a rose and every story has a thorn. Chuck, what was your Was there ever a time in your journey where you're like, okay, what the F am I doing? What is going on? I'm 23 years old. I just bought a business. I'm stressed and all my money's going just to my business, and I'm living with my parents. I'm going to freak out. Have you ever had that moment?
Once a week. I mean, when you're working your ass off day and night and hustling and not seeing any money coming in your own pocket because you have so many expenses and you want to make sure your employees are compensated first, it gets frustrating. Yeah, you definitely lose motivation, and there's plenty of times I want to throw in the towel.
Is there any moment in particular where you're like, oh shit, what did I do? How am I going to get out of this? Am I built for this?
How do I sell this and get rid of it?
Yeah.
Like type thing. Have you ever like how do I do this? Like I've just made the biggest mistake of my life type thing.
I don't know if it would be considered a mistake, but I had, after the franchise that I worked for and was involved with, very much involved and helped them out, training people and selling franchises, and I was on the board. I helped them fix a lot of the issues, and I was very involved. They sold the company to another company, and when that happened, we lost all support from the franchise. And at that point, over time, I didn't understand why I was paying a royalty for something that was a service I wasn't getting. So I decided to branch off and create CK Colors, which is my initials, and keep the business rolling until I got a letter that I had to cease and desist because I was violating my non-compete. So at that point, they wanted me to close the doors, and the contract, which was an inch thick, which I didn't obviously read at 23. I didn't care about all that. They wanted me to. I couldn't sell it to a friend, family. I couldn't be associated with it in any way. Otherwise, I'm violating. So at that point, I thought like that was it. Like everything's over. Everything I worked hard for was done, and everybody who was close to me and also that I cared about that worked for me that wouldn't be able to do it as well. So it was bad. I thought that was it, and I lost a lot of sleep and had a lot of stress and didn't know what was going to happen. And one day I had a bunch of attorneys I hired to look into it. I sent retainers to the attorneys in Minneapolis. That's where the contract was, and they pretty much took my retainer and said they couldn't help me. $5,000 here, $5,000 there, and nothing came out of it. So it was costing me a lot of money for no reason. And then eventually the one attorney that worked for a firm on the side told me, look, between me and you, I'm not allowed to do this, but here's an attorney that can help you. And it was like an angel. She was like an angel, because I called this attorney up. He was an old school guy, didn't even ask for a retainer, didn't ask for any money, just says, oh, yeah, I know them guys. I'll call them. He made a phone call, calls me back. Yeah, they're willing to negotiate with you. I'm like, after all this years of fighting and all this nonsense and having PIs follow us around and all this,
oh, man,
they're going to negotiate.
What a weight lifted.
Yeah.
And you know what? I really think we should actually do an episode on non-competes, because I think, I mean, it's more common than you think. A lot of business owners who, try to open up their own business, a lot of them have already been working in or actually have a current role in the business they actually want to open. Mm-hmm. So I know, John, you've been there.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of other people who have been in that same exact role. And it's stressful. It's scary. You don't know. You think your dream is just going down the drain and shot. Right. But, that's really, like you said, it's like an angel was sent to you. And, everything, I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. You're meant to be sent through these trials and tribulations, they call it. And it's like, but as soon as that moment happens, how light did you feel?
Well, first and foremost, I was a week out before like the actual judge would have like enforced it. And God only knows what would have happened if I would have had like police come to the shop and lock the doors. I don't know. But it was a week out. And then apparently, after he talked to the attorneys, they just negotiated a deal to buy out of my contract, which, all right, fine. Like I had to give them $20,000 up front and $30,000 throughout like 3 years, which is not too bad considering. Mm-hmm. And after that, I was, free to do whatever I wanted to do. And
awesome.
Yeah, again, it was the best feeling in the world, even though it was a lot of money. But at the end of the day, like it's only money. You can make it back.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the passion that you do and you're going to build your business the right way.
Yeah.
So
you cared about your clients and you cared about your people. And that's, at least for me, when I was in that similar situation, that's what kept me going.
Exactly.
That's what gave me the will to, hey, let's figure it out. No matter what, we're going to figure out how to keep it going. And I think that's what separates a lot of business owners, is that they just care. It's as simple as that. You got to care. You have to have passion. You have to take pride in your work and the people that you do it with and do it for. And that's awesome, man.
So instead of the thorn, now we're going to talk about our rose. Was there ever a time, I'm sure there were obviously, but give me a little description about your best feel-good moment, the moment where you were like, I'm doing this right. I'm in the right spot.
Multiple times, but one that stands out after all the lawsuit things happened was a big company who relocated a division to our area and needed my service, and they were selling a lot of cars, and they were reconditioning in this area and sent them all over to the East Coast. So when they called me up and said they wanted me to do some work for them, I started doing their work. They were hiring their own staff as well, but in the meantime, they needed me to supplement, and that came down to like doing hundreds of cars a week, and that was like I felt like important at that point because this company from wherever needed me to do their work, and at the time I didn't have the staff, so at that point I had to go try to find staff, and I had to keep growing to keep up with their demand. So it was a good feeling to know like they needed me, and then we actually like went above and beyond, and it was a goal that I never even thought I could accomplish as far as like the amount of staff that I had to hire, the amount of cars that we got done, the amount of revenue that I was producing was, something I never even would have ever thought would happen. So that was probably one of the big times. And then I guess on the flip side, the other thing, it was like buying my new shop, like signing the paperwork and owning my own body shop. And that's another thing that like I never thought I could actually do because it didn't never seem attainable at the time, like years ago.
Right. What an achievement. Like you signed, you're like, this is mine. I made it. This is it. And I'm sure during the day to day, you're probably not even thinking about it, but I'm sure like there's some times where you go home and you're just like, holy crap, I did that.
Yeah.
You look back and you don't realize it as you're you're running your business from the day to day in and out. And then you sit back and it's like, wow, you know what? I am the shit.
Mm-hmm.
I did this. I beat all my obstacles that came my way. I got around them. I conquered them. And I'm living the dream. So if there was one piece of advice, knowing what you know now, if you could tell your 23-year-old self something right now, what would it be? What's the best piece of advice you could give yourself?
Well, honestly, I don't think I would change much. The only thing I would change is maybe like doing things to satisfy others before myself. Because a lot of times I would do things for others because I didn't want to hurt nobody else or do anybody wrong. But at the end of the day, I was always the one that would suffer. But on the other side of it is like I grew my business based on treating people the right way, doing things with integrity and working hard, obviously work ethic and just relationships in general, building relationships. And it's not like there wasn't an agenda behind my relationships. I was just a friendly person and knew a lot of people and was always networking, always at events, car events, social events, whatever the case. And my business grew based on that because friends would send possible employees to me. Friends would send clients. So all the relationships were very important. And on the other side of it, a lot of people I saw that grew in the business with me in similar businesses or competitors, a lot of them failed because they would burn bridges and they wanted the quick buck and they weren't in it for the longevity.
Right.
Some people thought it was a sprint, not a marathon, and I didn't think of it that way. I just thought of it as I'm going to do things the right way in the way that I feel is right, and it just all kind of came together.
That's a great piece of advice. And, I have to stop myself sometimes and think, Jackie, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen maybe even the next day. Slow down. It's going to take some time. Like you just said, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you're going to have to go through some hard times and take the time to actually build your business the right way. And I think the business falls right in your lap. Like you said, there's some times you have to turn some jobs away because you have so much coming onto your lap. But it's like, you'd rather that. You'd rather build your business just by being a genuine person and by hiring the right people, treating people right. And it's hard to be selfish when you are just naturally a genuine person. Yeah. But I think all in all, I think you really built your business the right way and you really kind of built a name for yourself. And I'm so glad to hear that story. And it really inspires me to want to, do better and really kind of light a fire under me. And yeah.
You're doing fantastic, Jackie.
Thanks,
relax. Be patient.
I know. I'm so impatient.
That's okay. Well, Chuck, thanks so much for being our first guest on the South Jersey Entrepreneurs Podcast. I mean, we've known each other for a few years now, and knowing you has really just always kept me motivated, knowing that, hey, it's not easy. We've had similar situations or challenges during our career, so having you as one of our first guests on the South Jersey Entrepreneurs Podcast means a lot, bud. So really thank you for being here. If our listeners want to connect with you more and learn more about your businesses and you, where should they go?
They can hit me up on my personal Facebook, which is Chuck Krepelka, Krepelka. My business page is CK Colors. We also have the Pride website, pridenj.com. We have the Instagram, pridenj at Instagram. And my personal Instagram is DJ_Razor1.
Boom. Jackie, close us out.
All right, guys. Chuck, thanks so much again. It was such a pleasure hearing about your story, and I love the conversation we have here. But that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning into episode 2. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have any questions to ask our future guests, go ahead and follow SJ Entrepreneurs on Instagram and shoot us a DM by going to the Ask Our Guest highlight reel. In future episodes, we're going to be picking 2 questions to feature on a Q&A segment with our future guests. So don't be shy. Go now and ask away. Thanks again, guys, and see you next episode.
Awesome.
Thank you.